Wait, hold on. Can you guys hear me now? Let me know if you guys can hear. This is crazy. Are we good? Let me know if we're good. Alright, cool. Oh dear Lord. I'm trying out StreamYards again. I'm gonna give it another try to see if I like it or not. So we're just gonna check it out. How's it going, you guys? Happy Valentine's Day. Anybody doing anything exciting? Alright, cool. You guys can hear, Cool. Alright. What up, everybody? How's it going? Who's got special plans for today? Or who did anything exciting, you guys? It's Valentine's Day. It's the day of love. Nothing. My husband's boring. Ouch. Uh-oh. I'm sorry. Who said that? Alicia? Eek. Well, I'm sorry. If cleaning house is exciting, ooh, Art Deco, you're busy today then, huh? I know. What time is it over there? Damn, it's already like 10 o'clock on the East Coast. Don't worry, you guys. I did absolutely nothing too. We're streaming on Twitch too, so if you guys are on Twitch, follow me there, Flojo TV. Got spoiled by my boyfriend. Who said that? Julie said that? Okay. Anything special? Any gifts you got? Happy Valentine's Day. Hubby and I are having Mexican food at home, watching curling. Ooh, oh, that's right. The Olympics are on, huh? Okay. All right. Well, I didn't do anything, you guys. I've been home just catching up on sleep, and that's pretty much it. We didn't really do anything. He said tomorrow he'll take me out to eat at the restaurant. Ooh, yeah, the restaurants are packed, huh? Oh, dear Lord. I know. I think I'm gonna save all my energy and appetite for tomorrow. I think that's what we're gonna do. M7666, what's up? How's it going? Better to go another night. Yeah, you guys. Go tomorrow night. Tomorrow's Sunday. It's gonna be really quiet, right? Well, anyways, Nancy Grace came out with another show. And I just thought, maybe we come on, hang out. It's Valentine's Day. I got nothing better to do, so I wanted to hang out with you guys. So literally, I don't know when this came out. It probably came out earlier this morning, I guess. I can't even find where the video's at. But anyways, this is basically her video on the new tweet that SF Investigates put out. No, it's not new. Kind of put it out like 2 days ago on the 12th. And this is basically about David's family that was subpoenaed to testify in court. So I'm really curious to know what your guys' thoughts are on this. Aw, Cindy, thank you so much, but you're early. You're early. So thank you. I appreciate that. We got a few more hours, you guys, so we might do something tomorrow. So hang tight, y'all. But anyways, let's go ahead and get right into it. So I know you guys have already seen this, the tweet that SF put out regarding court documents that came out regarding this little memorandum to have mommy, daddy, and little brother testify in court. And they filed a motion so then that way they don't have to, but they're claiming that their rights have been violated. So let's go ahead and check out Nancy Grace and see what she's got to say all about this. What's up, the boss bish? Hold on, let me find this. You guys, I'm using StreamYard for the first time. Well, first time for an actual live. The last time I did it was the members only, and I didn't know what I was doing. So here, let's go ahead and play this, and we'll get everybody's reaction. What's my B-Day plan? I don't have plans for my birthday. Maybe just go have lunch. I don't know. I was thinking about going to get like Brazilian barbecue tomorrow, but we'll see. I don't know. No plans so far. All right, you guys ready? Let's go ahead and get this started.
Breaking news, bombshell, State versus D4VD, aka David Anthony Burke, as it relates to the death of a little teen girl, Celeste Rivas, found in the trunk of D4VD, David Anthony Burke's Tesla. What's taking so long? But now we have seen a court document that says State versus David Anthony Burke. You know about that secret grand jury proceeding that was just an investigative tool looking into the death of Celeste Rivas? No. David Anthony Burke is named as the official defendant. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us. Joining us, an all-star panel to make sense of what we are learning right now, but I've got it in front of me. Let's put it up for the viewers, and Dave Mack, explain what we found.
Well, when you look at this, at the documentation from the state of California, Nancy, it flat out says something that we've long thought was the case, but it actually, the bombshell, the people of the state of California versus David Anthony Burke. See, we thought, it was just an investigation, because that's what they said, an investigation into the death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. However, this document proves, beyond a shadow of a doubt, legal paperwork that says the state of California versus David Anthony Burke.
Now, what's interesting in this particular court document, and what it is an appeal to the Court of Appeals there in Texas, and the reason it's in Texas is because his family, Burke's family, is in Texas, and they...
All right, y'all, was I muted again? I really don't know how to work this StreamYard. This is why I never use it. But anyways, I did want to say, Steph, thank you so much for that $19.99 super chat. Happy early birthday in case you're not live tomorrow. Thank you. It's never ever required, but it really is much appreciated. Anybody that supports the channel, so I really appreciate it. Thank you guys. Thank you.
They are appealing a subpoena to come to the grand jury. Now, the title of that document is in the Court of Appeals for the First District of Texas, in re Dawood Burke. Okay, what does that mean? In the matter of Dawood Burke. But in a footnote in this document, you see the people of the state of California versus David Burke. Okay, I'm going to get back to everything else we are learning, but I'm going to go straight out to a veteran trial lawyer. Joanna Nieves is joining us from California, criminal defense attorney and founder of the Nieves Law Firm. Joanna, thank you for being with us. So this is what's happening to my understanding, and you jump in. Joanna, the family of D4VD, David Anthony Burke, pronounced as David, has been subpoenaed, the whole family, to testify in a grand jury proceeding regarding the death of Celeste Rivas, the little girl found in Burke's trunk. Let's see that Tesla. It was parked in spot to spot to spot on Posh Street there in California until it was finally towed at the behest of one of the homeowners. Days sitting at the tow lot, and it started a stench. Why? Because Celeste Rivas was decomposing in the trunk. We were told there is an investigative grand jury. Nieves, I believe you will agree with me that grand juries have two tools. One, a charging tool to indict people, and one, an investigation tool. For instance, in the John Benet Ramsey case, the grand jury met and they met and they met and they met.
M7666, M7666, thank you so much for that $20 super chat. Happy birthday, you are my new obsession. Hey, what's going on? Okay, happy birthday, you are my new obsession. Thank you for all you do for us. Thank you, M7666. Let's go.
At investigating John Benet's death. They ultimately did issue an indictment, but that case was not prosecuted. So a grand jury can meet to investigate. They have subpoena power. They can bring in witnesses.
You just block my notifications,
or they can charge. We were told this was an investigation into Celeste's death. Now we have an official court document filed by the parents contesting them having to come from Texas to California to testify in State v. David Anthony Burke. So a case against him. a case investigating him does exist. Explain what's happening, Joanna.
Nancy.
Right, Nancy. So I do believe that it does outline what the target of this investigation is. It's not just trying to uncover who it may be and get more information. Obviously, they're trying to focus their energies on identifying incriminating information against this particular person that's named in the footnote there in the charging document, assuming that that was cited properly. I would guess that they took that from the grand jury subpoena that was received. The filing itself, I think, is kind of more procedural, right? They're in Texas. This is happening in California, and it's their attempt to say, you know what, I don't really feel like California can drag me over there based on this subpoena, and I want a court to say that yes, absolutely, you have the authority to make me come and testify. So I think it's kind of like.
Okay, I'm going to make sure that we never use StreamYard again because I cannot figure this out. But thank you so much. Shout out to Julie Shepard for becoming a member of the Inner Circle. Hey, Ronan, thank you so much for your $2 super chat. You did post on Discord. You're not a dummy, Ronan. We love you, Ronan. Thank you so much. But yeah, anybody who joins the Inner Circle, you guys become a member of the channel. You know we got a Discord, right? Make sure you guys join the Discord. It's on our community wall. Yeah. After the show, I guess you can go check it out. I don't know. I'm feeling flustered right now just because this whole StreamYard shit isn't working, and I really wanted to use it because it looks like such a nice layout. But whatever. I guess we're gonna stick to OBS. StreamYard. I'm gonna have to cancel. This. Barbara Bish, what's going on? Thank you so much for your 1999 super chat. Buying you a birthday drink. Happy birthday. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. StreamYard, yeah. It is a Pima County, right? Pima County, pain in my ass. Pima County. Anyways, I guess I'm going to have to mute it on the actual StreamYard and on my mixer because this whole echo stuff is not the business, y'all. Sorry. I do apologize. We're sticking to OBS. We're not going to do this StreamYard stuff anymore, so forgive me, y'all. Forgive me.
One of those procedural things where you're contesting the validity of a confidential informant, or you're contesting the validity of a warrant, or the validity of a search. They're really just saying, hey, just make sure that you really do have the arm's reach to make me come from Texas to California here.
Specifically, what they are arguing, it is Dawood Burke, the father, D4VD's mother, Colleen, and his brother, Caleb, all summoned to testify at a California grand jury. Now, they are contesting that, claiming their rights have been violated. Why do they claim their rights were violated? They claim that they were given redacted versions of affidavits that were used in the court order summoning them to be witnesses. Okay, Joanna Nieves. Let me see Nieves, please. Really? Celeste is a little girl, a teen girl, decomposing, and their son's Tesla, and they're claiming their rights were violated. Silent tear. Because the affidavit supporting that warrant, that subpoena for them, had a name redacted. That's the leg they're standing on.
Nancy Grace
Good luck.
Tear. Cry me a river, right? I really just can't wait until February 24th for the judge just to return, to respond to it and let them know what's the deal. And I can't wait till TMZ catches them right outside of the court, asking them, Mr. Dawood, Colleen, Caleb, what did they ask you?
I think we see this pretty often, though, like, hey, there are rules that you have to follow. There is information that we need. Give me proper notice. That's the basis of so many arguments. Even when I just mentioned like a confidential informant, oftentimes that kind of objection to the information is based on not being able to see what was in the affidavit that was drafted by the police officer, or even when contesting a search warrant. We see this pretty often. So I don't think that they are making absurd arguments. I do think they're just trying to protect their interests and, of course, the interests of their son at this point, because he's still innocent until proven guilty.
I was waiting for you to say that. But this is not an adjudication of guilt or innocence. This is telling a witness, you must come to the grand jury. And yes, notice must be proper. In other words, they have to be served with a subpoena properly. There has to be a date, a location, the name of the matter to which they will testify. But the fact that names have been redacted in the affidavit, they don't even have to see an affidavit. All right? But they do have an affidavit to support the subpoena. The fact that they got notice correctly, there is the name of the matter to which they will end up testifying to. That's what they need. It was registered, it was certified, bam. They don't need to know the state's case, and they don't need to know sensitive information such as names that are in the affidavit. That is not...
No, you guys, my birthday's tomorrow, and I appreciate all the early birthday greetings, but, you know, we have a few more hours, so I'll probably come on tomorrow. We'll probably do like a little birthday stream. I have no idea what we're going to do, but we'll figure it out. We'll do something. I don't know if it's going to be fun or cool, but we'll stream. We'll be on tomorrow.
Required under the law. Yes, you're right. They have to have notice. Yes, you're right. They have to know what the matter is on which they will testify. But that's it. So they don't have a leg to stand on. But I'm very curious. Let's talk about privilege, such as attorney-client privilege. I'm sure that your clients speak very openly with you. They may even confess. They may prejudice themselves in front of you because you're their trusted lawyer, and your duty is, or you will be disbarred if you violate the attorney-client privilege, right? The rest of your life, you may not speak of it. That's the duty of a lawyer. I have the same duty.
Well, God, see. I can. This is not gonna work. StreamYard is not gonna work. They're fired. I didn't know. Okay, Veronica, you got a birthday tomorrow. I know Norma. Norma, you got a birthday tomorrow too, right? I know, you guys. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Today's stream is just gonna be full of all mistakes, and that's because we're using StreamYard. But all the birthdays. Who else? Who else? Yeah, StreamYard is banned. We're not doing this. And sorry to the people on Twitch. If anybody's watching on Twitch. I don't know what I'm doing, you guys. So, but yeah, Norma, it's your birthday tomorrow too, and Veronica. So happy early birthday to both of you as well. And yeah, StreamYard fired. Done. We're done with this. It's gonna be the last live on StreamYard. We're going back to OBS, y'all.
So you got the attorney-client privilege. You've got priest-parishioner privilege, such as what you tell to your preacher, your priest, your religious counselor, your rabbi. That cannot be forced in court. The rabbi, the priest, cannot be forced to divulge what the defendant said. You've got husband-wife privilege. There are several privileges. But he's my daddy ain't one of them, Nieves.
No, for sure. But, I do think there's word that David's dad does have some type of affiliation with the church. And I do wonder whether or not he may take some type of stand that his son
what
has
did you just say?
Him from that perspective.
I thought you were going to hit me with the fact that his father's a lawyer, so he could try to use attorney-client privilege.
His dad is a lawyer.
But you're going, he has an affiliation with the church. What affiliation would that be? He drives by it on Sunday mornings?
And here, all of this is all reported, right? It's reported that he's some type of reverend with the church.
Okay, you know what? There's a reason you win so many cases. See, look at Nieves right now. She looks believable. She's smart. She's articulate. And she says things like that, and you almost believe it. He has some affiliation with a church. You just said that. Okay, so you're going from the angle that it is a priest-parishioner privilege. Is that correct?
It's an angle. I don't know that they're really actually going to go with it, but maybe some of the conversations that have happened, if there really is this sort of affiliation, could fall under those protections. No, he doesn't have a father-son privilege. And maybe he has consulted his father in an attorney-client way, but we do know that he is.
I shouldn't have given you that idea.
I'm curious, you guys. You guys think that David has spoken to his parents and told him or told them everything that they need to know about it? And if he has had that conversation, do you think he told them the truth? Because I'm very curious to know what their understanding of this story is, and if maybe they understand the magnitude of what their son is facing, right? Because we do now know, after these documents have came out, that there is actually a case against David Burke. So I'm really curious to know what the story is that he told them. Dad, it's not true. Mom, go buy that AR-15, right? Because they're gonna come and get us. Cindy said, I doubt it. Probably not. Jazz says he probably lied. Catsier said, told them he isn't innocent. Otherwise, why else wouldn't they rush over to clear his name? Well, I think there's going to be a lot of evidence that is going to prove otherwise, right? Julie said, I'm guessing they knew on some level. They had to have known, right? You guys remember that one photo from the Fonda where, you know, his mom is sitting on the top balcony, and then right next to her is the sister, and then we have Celeste in the hoodie, and then we have Caleb, right? What about that? What about that photo? Like, how do you explain that, right? And I'm curious if they ever testify, if they're gonna play off that they don't even know who she is, or they've never met her. That's gonna be some shit.
I gave her a bone. She's running with it. Okay. So, well, you know what? You're not half wrong, Joanna, as much grief as I'm giving you. Remember when Rosie Greer, the football player, went and counseled O.J. Simpson behind bars, and according to the sheriff, Simpson confessed? That was kept away from the jury under the same theory you're using right now. Greer was some kind of a counselor or pastor, some affiliation with the church, and it worked. The jury never heard that O.J. Simpson confession. So, you know what? Maybe he has a leg to stand on with the dad, but what about the mom, Colleen, and the brother?
Basin said he probably told them that the OD bullshit that SF handed to them on a silver platter during the early stages. I mean, how many of you guys in the chat think that there's a possibility that she could have OD'd? Do any of you guys believe that there's a possibility that she OD'd or that drugs were involved? Basin is dead set for the longest time that SF has put the narrative out there that she OD'd, and I don't recall where that rumor ever started. But how many of you guys believe that there's a possibility that drugs were involved? Nah, even if she did, it wasn't her fault. That's right? Because she is a minor. Basin said, I don't think she did. So Basin, I'm curious. Basin Jorn, what is your belief? How do you believe Celeste lost her life? It was SF who started all that. I know you are dead set on that, and I believe you. But I have to go back and watch all of the footage. There was the episode that he was on Nancy, right, where he was talking about all of the opioids that he found. He found 3 bottles of Lortab, Norcos that were in the bathroom, by the computer, and then in the bedroom somewhere. We talked about this many times before on our show. But I'm really curious. And then we saw those photos that just came out, right? That SF posted the day before he posted the court documents. And those photos happened to show a few people at the mansion where they were partying. They were having drinks. There's a photo that possibly has Celeste holding her Hello Kitty mug. No, not the Hello Kitty mug. She's holding a green bottle. And we know that green bottle is an alcoholic beverage. It's a Korean drink. It's soju, right? So we do know that if that is her hand, and I'm very curious to know if SF actually has more photos that has her in them. And then there is a statement that he put out too, because somebody made a comment to that post on Twitter that said, I wonder if Asia's there, because if Celeste is there, we know that Asia's her bestie, so she has to be there, right? And SF responded to that tweet and he said, "Oh, she's there. I just decided not to use a photo that had her in it." So, I mean that makes Neo, that makes Celeste Herrera, that makes Asia all aware of Celeste, especially if they were drinking, right? On New Year's Eve. Sounds like a pretty boring party, but also there's underage people there. David himself wasn't even 21. I think he was 19 at the time, right? And then you had Celeste, who was 13, you guys. 13. That is crazy.
Sure. Okay, I can't wait to hear this. Did they drive by the church on Sunday morning too?
Well, here's the thing with that. We really don't know how much they know. They're living in another state. David is living in California. I mean, what do they know? That he's hanging out with Celeste? Do they really have any details about whether or not there was a relationship? I'm still waiting to hear proof or some sort of evidence that he was in a relationship that was inappropriate, besides contributing to the delinquency of a minor and, maybe doing drugs and drinking alcohol, which we can kind of gather from these photos. So there may have been an inappropriate relation to the extent that he was doing things that he should not have been doing, like engaging in abuses of substances, giving her alcohol, but whether or not there was a sexual relationship, we don't know that. I've heard no reportings besides suspicions that there's any proof regarding that.
And that's another thing too, right? I mean, because Celeste is not here to testify, there's probably going to be zero to no chance that there's ever going to be any kind of S crimes that are filed against David, right? However, I am curious that if this ever does go to trial, if there are going to be any other potential victims that happen to speak out, right? I'm very curious. And if Celeste was a victim, which we know that she will, allegedly, right? That she was, I'm very curious to know, is anybody else going to come out and say, yo, look, me too. This happened to me too. Celeste wasn't the only one, right? Celeste may have been the only young teen that lost her life, but there were S crimes against me too. I don't know.
Hi guys, Nancy Grace here between the grocery home for host, and he was /Nancy. And good luck. Steve Fisher joining me right now, the man of the hour. He is a missing persons private investigator, search and rescue specialist, and he was hired by the owner of the mansion where D4VD was living.
Yoko from Tokyo said, wasn't there a DJ who knew Neo who he introduced to a dealer, and he said after a few weeks after the introduction, some girl was reported OD'd and then died on a new drug, no? Yeah, and if you're probably referring to that post that went up on Reddit, yes, that was a post that went up on Reddit. The only problem is there's no way for us to validate how real those claims are. The person who actually posted that Reddit post actually took it down, and it actually just came back on Reddit about a week or two ago. So the story was just kind of brought up, and I think it was asking if Neo was the plug, and I don't know. I mean, it sounded far-fetched a long time ago. But, the more and more that we hear coming out, this is why we like to circle back around and watch some of these old interviews, because a lot of the stuff that they actually talk about, kind of gets brought back up. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a possibility. I mean, we don't know too much about Neo, and, until more facts come out and more details come out about anybody, right? I mean, we can't really say much. And of course, right, everybody is innocent until proven guilty, and at this time, nobody has been formally charged with any kind of crime. So we're gonna have to wait. We're gonna have to wait. They did say that there are a few more witnesses that are gonna be testifying through February. So I think that's what we're gonna have to wait for. We really don't have an option, right? Everybody was banking and hoping and praying that maybe on Friday the 13th something was gonna happen, or actually today was the day that everybody was hoping something would happen. So I don't know. Could something have happened in the background, right? Something that's not on media, because we know that right now, currently, one of the largest kidnappings in probably our history, right, is currently going on with Nancy Guthrie, and that case, is also something else. That's that's a whole other live, you guys. And if you guys have been following the channel, we've been making sure to stay on top of things. But today's been a little quiet. Um, and we do have a good friend that's actually out there, boots on the ground right now. So, when he goes live, we'll make sure to check in with him. But yeah, we're gonna have to wait. Everybody was hoping that February 14th, Valentine's Day, that there was gonna be some sort of action going on, but still, absolutely no word. It's been silent.
To basically find out what the hey happened. Could you refresh Joanna Nieves' recollection regarding the relationship that you have cobbled together through photos?
David is guilty said, well, those pictures prove that David drinks despite being 20. So should Neo be arrested for buying David's alcohol? Well, let's not forget that there are other people there that are of age too, right? Neo's not the only person who is of legal age. We know that Celeste Herrera is there, and she was probably 22 at the time. And then SF had mentioned, right? Hold on, let me see if we can. Let's kind of get this. Let me pull this up, right? Because this is where he states it. Let's go back to the post. And I'll show you. This is the post that I was talking about. It says right here, Asia stating she never knew the girl, right? Quote unquote, the girl. But oh yeah, that's it. That's her friend's girlfriend. What the F? You guys remember that? If the other Celeste is there, Asia is likely there since she states that's her bestie. I don't see her not going where she is, and David in the mix too. She knows more than she's letting on. Or, and this is the smallest possibility ever, she's clueless as F and has her head so far up her ass and paid attention to nothing. Oh, I doubt that, right? The biggest question I have is what the hell are they doing in this photo? It looks like a lot of underage drinking, smoking, rugs, and ish, right? Is a person who isn't cooperating the other Celeste, and that other Celeste would be Celeste Herrera. I have seen her say anything. I have seen her say nothing, right? Not anything. Or I haven't seen her say anything about this besides she's the quote unquote other Celeste. But isn't that her in that picture? Yep, that's her, right? It's her in the picture, and she knows a lot more than she's presenting. And then SF said she was there. I just didn't use a picture that included her, but she was there that night. So, yeah, there's no reason to believe that Asia Collins was not there. Let's go back.
I know you were not in the room when any alleged sex activity occurred, which would be statutory because she's a child. But you've seen a lot of photos. You even recovered a photo stick that the LAPD left behind in their wisdom. Tell me what relationship, based on the photos that you have seen and what you have learned, what was the relationship between D4VD and this little girl, Celeste Rivas?
Well, I'm certain that one thing that's become.
Jazzy said, period. I swear that if he doesn't receive charges and have that registered as a SO, I will be livid. Well, I mean, you think about it, right? They were just saying that there's a possibility that he may not be charged with them at all, right? Because Celeste is not here to testify for herself. And I mean, at this point, you know, if you had the option to charge him with any, you know, any SA crimes or the M charge, which one are you guys gonna pick? Right? Are you guys gonna give that SA charge, or are you gonna pick that SA charge over the M charge? Right? What are you guys? What are your thoughts?
Very apparent as he was aware when cameras around, and he made her aware of not to be in front of the camera. It's very very apparent because she's captured in so few photos. Although we know we have other evidence to link her there, but is there direct evidence? I mean, I think this is one thing that's worried me about this case, is that because it's at the very highest level the DA's office. These are the DAs that prosecute homicides and stuff. Will they, if they can't meet that threshold, will they go after the sex crimes? I don't know. I don't know if they will, and that worries me. When David said,
I can tell you right now they won't.
Yeah, right.
I can tell you right now that sex assault will likely not be part of the claims against D4VD, aka David Anthony Burke, and this is why. Celeste is dead. David Anthony Burke will likely never take the stand. And without any DNA from her body or her eyewitness testimony as a victim, it won't be, you can't prove it. If there is a witness that walked in on them in any sex act, maybe they've got a leg to stand on. Okay.
Or unless there's another victim, right, that may be able to prove it, right? And I just think that if this goes to trial, that there's probably going to be more people to come out, right? Because if he's done this once, what's the likelihood that he's probably done this before, right? How many of you guys think that he's done this before with another child?
Okay. And there were so many people in and out of that house, as you know, that may very well have happened. If anyone ever saw him kiss her on the mouth, if there are any texts that surface, romantic or sexual texts between them, we may be able to get a charge on indecent exposure, lewd act, but proving will not happen. So the state doesn't want to include a count that is weak, because it will then dilute a murder charge or a homicide charge if it's not murder one. I would not put that in my indictment. If I were indicting this case, I might believe it, I might know it to be true, but unless I have a witness that can tell me they observed D4VD having full-on sex with Celeste Rivas, I would not put that in the indictment. If I've got someone or text proving something else, kissing, fondling, sexual text, anything like that, I would go with delinquency to a minor, or I wouldn't do anything that would dilute the most important charge, and that would be homicide. In fact,
yeah, I mean, and that we literally just mentioned that right now, right? And look, if you were to ask me, you know, to pick and choose which one out of the three or whatever, how many she just named, I'm going with the M, right? That first 187 charge. And if they have enough evidence to prove that in court beyond a reasonable doubt, look, so be it. And Cindy brought up a great point, right? I wonder if there's any videos of the two, right? Maybe CSAM. Look, if there is, I don't want to know. I know somebody earlier, I think who said it, but somebody mentioned something about like a snuff film, right? I've heard that as a blind theory before too, and that one's been up on the Reddits for dear Lord knows how long, right? But I don't know. I mean, they haven't brought him in for questioning. They haven't taken any of it. Well, no, they did, because they served the search warrant and they grabbed a few computers, laptops, etc. So I am curious to know what they have on that, right? Let's not forget, They did serve a search warrant, and they did walk out with a bunch of electronics. So there's a huge possibility that they do have some stuff on that computer, right? We know that SF has an entire camera, right, with the memory card that's got about 1,100 photos, although a few of them might only, only a few might contain Celeste in them. But we'll just have to wait and see what actually comes out. And we're all anxious to know what's going to happen with this, right? LAPD, law enforcement, they've been super quiet. Again, thanks to SF, he's really the only one kind of keeping us in the know. And, he keeps dropping these little breadcrumbs. And I had to think about it. Everybody's been upset with SF as to why he just doesn't release everything that he knows, right? But what I did learn is that sometimes SF learns some of these things just as soon as we do, right? And sometimes what he'll have to do is maybe take a lead, verify it, and then, put it out on the internet, put it out on Twitter. I mean, that's literally how he found out about the court documents, right? And I can verify that for you guys right now. A team of people sent that document to him. He had to verify it, and that very same day, that's when the information came out. So slow down on SF, right? He's doing the best that he can, and I guess when more information can come out, he'll let us know.
In fact, I believe I would have one count of homicide if I were prosecuting this case. Maybe a count of mutilation to a corpse, which means hiding the corpse, burying the corpse, tampering with the corpse, because those are going to be provable according to reports. Now, Steve Fisher, we've got this document proving in a footnote, you have to read it very carefully, that there is a grand jury investigation, State v. David Anthony Burke. What you're seeing right there is from the family contesting their subpoenas. We can only imagine what he may have told them, what they know about this case. But they're going to have to testify. Just because you move to a different state or you are in.
Basin Jordan said they are probably relying on toxicology to better understand what happened, which means it could be an accidental overdose with a really bad decision made afterwards. Is that one of his quotes? Is that from X? Well, I mean, what we do know now, right, is that LAPD, law enforcement, they are investigating this as a homicide. Oh, I just bit my lip. They are investigating this as a homicide. So, she was killed. We all just want to know how. What was the cause of death? And why, right? David is guilty said David jokes about not going to bars, and Neo winks at him. Ugh. Well, I mean, we saw that video that was out and about, right, where David was at the arcade. David was with Neo, and then afterwards they went to that karaoke bar in Koreatown. That bar is 21 and over. And how did David get into that bar? Right? They serve drinks at all of those karaoke bars. Yeah, how did he get in? Did he have fake ID? I don't know. I mean, did he use his Hollywood fame, to pull some strings? And Ronan said, because he can. I'm assuming you're referring to SF, right? He can't give us everything. Some are part of the investigation. Very true, which is why he hasn't released the information on who drove the Tesla, right? Every episode that that Nancy does, she's always asking him, right? Tell us who drove the Tesla, right? And he won't tell us. So I'm assuming that information is part of the investigation, which is why we don't know.
In a different state does not mean you don't have to testify in front of a grand jury. Now, Steve Fisher, bring me up to date with your latest findings.
We had the news of the car being saved from going to auction at the very last minute. We were hoping to take a look at that, and that didn't happen. These photos you're showing now, we released these photos to kind of show there's a couple of reasons for this. We wanted to show some of the people that were around a lot, and they appear in this photo. We believe Celeste is also just off frame here, and also, we talked about the phone right there. That's shows.
David is guilty. That's a great point too, right? One, not to interfere with LAPD. Two, not having permission from the homeowner. Three, not wanting to endanger the driver, which he's mentioned many times before, right? He doesn't want any vigilantes, vigilantes to seek justice for themselves, right? I think that's one of the quotes that he used. And then in case the driver didn't know the body was in there. I mean, unless it was David himself, right? Because then if it was, then he damn well knew, in my opinion,
That it's on connected to the Wi-Fi system of the house. And we did this because we wanted to let everybody. I've heard recently that there's a few people that still are not cooperating and or aren't being fully truthful. And I think it's important that people realize that there are things like the Wi-Fi router at the house that's going to log exactly when they were connected to that router, and what days and what times and things like that. So we just thought it might be important for those people to think about.
So Redondo, I mean, you bring up a great point, right? You said no matter who gets out of the car, it doesn't tell us anything about how she died. But I would ask you, right, to enlighten me as to why that is such a secret then. Because if it doesn't matter, if it doesn't change the outcome of anything, why don't we know yet? I'm trying to understand that part too, right? Because I still don't understand why SF hasn't told us anything about who drove it. But if it doesn't matter, why hold on to that?
And maybe it's time to be fully truthful about who was there and who was.
I'm sorry, hold on. You cut out on me. You're saying that the LAPD can mine the Wi-Fi connections in the home from the time they believe Celeste began living there until her death, and they can determine who was in the home and get those cell numbers, connect those cell numbers to owners, and then get witnesses. Is that what you just said?
If they did the forensics on the router, we don't have that type of relationship with the LAPD where they're telling us exactly what they've done. These are things that we're throwing out there, hoping that they are being done because we think they're very important, especially if there's
Steve Fisher, you're absolutely right. But I want to talk to you about a Neo, aka Neo the Asian, aka hiding under mommy's bed in another jurisdiction, refusing to come to the grand jury. Guess what? He was arrested and brought to the grand jury. So if D4VD's family doesn't want the same treatment, they better hop on over to that California grand jury and start talking. Tell me what you know about Neo the Asian, his words, not mine,
there she goes,
brought into the grand
again.
jury.
What happened?
Did he go to grand jury, Steve Fisher?
Showed up at that building. They showed the prosecutor arriving at that building. He was only in there, they say 30 to 40 minutes. The only thing that I can infer from that, and I don't have any inside information on this, but I have to believe that he pleaded the fifth because I can't believe there's a 30 or 40 minute by the time you would arrive, get sworn in, all that. He's got a lot more information than 30 or 40 minutes worth, I would hope. So I think he pleaded the fifth, and which is obviously his right to do so. But as a non-lawyer, I can look at that and say, well, that says something to me, and
well, you're right, Steve Fisher. That timing cannot be denied. D4VD's friend. Let's look at the videos and pictures of them together. D4VD's.
Hold on, you guys, because I do want to read some comments, right? It doesn't matter regarding how she died, but we don't know what kind of part that person could play and testifying. You always keep the cards close to the vest. That's a great point, Redondo. That is a great point, right? And I mean, also makes me wonder, what role did Neo play? Because we do know that he was subpoenaed to show up in court, but he failed to appear, which is why there was a warrant out for his arrest, or I'm guessing the body attachment for him, right? And then he spent 45 minutes in court and walked out. TMZ caught him. He didn't answer any questions. And then we saw that mysterious comment that popped up on one of my videos. Somebody claiming that Neo did not move the Tesla. Neo he wasn't hiding. He lives with his mom. What else? He didn't move the Tesla. I don't. There were so many other things, but yeah, that comment was really weird. You guys remember that one that I'm talking about, right?
Seemingly best friend Neo Langston did appear in front of an LA grand jury in the investigation into the death of Celeste Rivas. He was arrested for failure to appear. He was dragged back. He did go into the grand jury. The 23-year-old was at the courthouse this past Wednesday. A grand jury, as you know, convened since November investigating this, but he didn't stay long, about 40 minutes, and then left the courthouse, refusing to answer questions as he left. Now, we tried to get a comment from the Deputy District Attorney Silverman. Who was presenting the case to the grand jury. No good, wouldn't talk, agree, don't blame her. But I do believe that Steve Fisher is correct. Straight back out to our friend Joanna Nieves, veteran trial lawyer in this jurisdiction. You know what? Fine. If you don't want to testify, you can be put on as a co-defendant on that indictment. Real simple. Or you can be an unnamed co-conspirator. Or, I'm very surprised the state didn't do this, Joanna. Give him immunity and make him testify. Because the reason you take the Fifth Amendment right to remain silent is because it could hurt you at your upcoming trial. But if the state says, okay, you have immunity, like, you're immune from the flu or you get the COVID vax, so you're immune, you think. Same thing. We're not going to try you. And if we're not going to try you, then you don't get to take the Fifth. I'm very surprised. What do you think, Joanna?
I agree with you, Nancy. I mean, as a lawyer, I would have been talking to my client beforehand, talking to the district attorney and negotiating some type of immunity deal so to protect his interest. And so that also leaves that opening of like, okay, if he really went in there and pled the Fifth, why didn't that occur ahead of time? But maybe they just had some very straightforward cross-examination questions, like some investigative questions where they're getting their yes and no answers. And this is all I wanted from that witness, and leaving the door open to pursue something later on if they need to. I do find it confounding that they would not have negotiated something prior to him going in there.
How about this, Joanna? Maybe they put him up and try to get him to testify without an immunity deal in place. And then
Obsidian said, if my kid did this, I'm telling everyone, right? And I think there was, I think this is recent too, right? There was an NFL player whose mom turned him in. And let me read this a little bit more, because I do want to talk about this. But the mom basically was saying, look, I brought him into this world. I raised him. I gave him a good life. And I think that NFL football player, killed his girlfriend or something like that. And his mom was the one who turned him in, right? So, look, some people will do what's right, and then some parents will just kind of defend their children to the moon and back, right? No matter how guilty their child is, they will still defend them.
And he wouldn't, then they had to go meet, converse, decide whether or not to grant him immunity or to charge him. Because, put Steve Fisher up, please. Steve Fisher, you went before LAPD did You thought of it before they did, and you executed it before they did. You went to all the neighbors and you got their ring cam, their doorbell cam, and we see how important that is in the Nancy Guthrie disappearance, right? How valuable that is. And you got video of someone moving D4VD's Tesla around, we believe, with Celeste's body in the trunk. And you're telling me tonight that it was or was not Neo Langston?
Oh, I'm not saying either of those.
I'm telling you, Nancy just wants to know the same thing, right? So Nancy, keep asking him, because whether or not it matters or not, I mean, we still just want to know, because that's just another piece of the puzzle that the internet feels like we need to keep going, right?
I can't do that. But here's the the problem with the surveillance in that neighborhood. The car was there. I mean, she was in that trunk for months, and that overwrites. And so, although there's a lot of cameras in that neighborhood, and there's a lot of surveillance to get, some of it doesn't go back far enough. And from other angles,
let me see, Steve Fisher again. Steve, I had no idea you could do the backstroke so well. Isn't it true that you told me you saw the face at least once of a person moving the Tesla?
Yes.
Okay, that's all. No further questions. But you're not telling me, and I understand that, but I'm going to keep asking. Dave Mack, have we missed anything? Neo Langston appears at the grand jury, apparently takes the fifth. I believe Steve Fisher and Joanna Nieves are exactly correct. He may be named as an unindicted conspirator. He may be not named and given immunity in exchange for his testimony. The family of D4VD, David Anthony Burke, refusing to honor a subpoena. I've got advice for them as a lawyer, not that you need it, because Mr. Burke is a lawyer. Either hightail it over to grand jury in your own car, or you can ride in the back of a sheriff's deputy. Those are the choices. Have we missed anything?
No, you got everything, Nancy. The one thing that we talked about yesterday was about what we actually saw at the very last lines of the documentation yesterday, and that is the people of the state of California versus David Anthony Burke. That's our bottom line. We actually know that it's not just an investigation into the death of Celeste. It actually is an investigation of David Anthony Burke.
American homeowners, the FBI has been warning about a type of real estate fraud called title lock. If you know or think you know anything about the death of this little girl, Celeste Rivas Hernandez, please dial 213-486-6890. Thank you to our guests for being with us, but especially to you for joining us in our search for justice for Celeste. Nancy Grace signing off. I'll see you tomorrow night. And until then, good night, friend.
All right, really quick, just to kind of recap, right? So the day before those court documents came out, SF Investigates put out a tweet really late at night and dropped a few photos that showed these people had thrown a party. They were having a party, right? Let me just make this bigger. They were throwing a party at the mansion. This was on December 31st, right? So this is before January 2nd, where we've seen the last proof of life photo that SF has. And you'll see some of the photos that we were actually talking about earlier in the chat. But here, let's check this out.
Before Celeste was last seen. So December 31st, 2024, they appear to show David and his friends inside his home that night. And Celeste, she's not clearly visible, but in this photo, there is an iPhone believed to be hers sitting on a table next to a Hello Kitty mug. And in another image, what appears to be a girl's fingers, believed to be Celeste, are holding a bottle. And in this image, the phone believed to be Celeste appears to be connected to the home's Wi-Fi, which means the router logs could show who was inside that house and when. My next guest is responsible for all this discovery. Steve Fisher, missing person private investigator who's been on the case from the very start, represents the owner of the property where David had reportedly been staying, near where that Tesla was found. Steve, thanks so much for coming on. Let's just start here. Why did you put this out? And were you trying to send a message to the people in the photo?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. It's something that, we noticed a while back. And, there's some people that I don't think are maybe completely cooperating, completely telling the truth about things. And we just thought, it'd be good for them to know that there are things like, when phones are connected to Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi router captures that each time, and it will give, the time and date that you were there, and how long you're connected and stuff like that. So this is an opportunity to show that we think.
All right, you guys, let's talk about this photo again, right? So we see here December 31st, New Year's Eve, pretty boring, right? They have a table full of shit. It kind of reminds me of when I was 21 and just started drinking. They've got a table full of, look at this, right? I don't even know what this is. This looks like paper towels. This looks like, I don't know, a bed sheet, t-shirt, a furry backpack. They've got an open Hawaiian punch. They've got Tito's vodka. They got some soju. And then we see the little Hello Kitty mug over here to the right. And then we see somebody's hands on another soju bottle, right? And that's crazy because if Celeste is actually 13 in this photo and she's drinking soju, soju's not like beer, right? I think soju has anywhere between like, I don't know, maybe 15 to 20% alcohol. And so it's like if you drink one of those bottles, it's like drinking like 5 beers, right? And for her body, I can only imagine like the tolerance that she either has or has built, or the lack thereof, right? Maybe she doesn't even have a tolerance. Like, I don't even want to know what happened at the end of this night, right? Because I'm assuming that they all stayed there, they all partied there, and they all woke up the next day, right? Whether it was together or they all woke up separately. But what's sad to think about is that they were all there partying that same night, and who knows what happened when they all went to sleep.
Celeste was there that night as well, and of course was kept hidden as usual, and that we believe that's her phone, and it's connected to the Wi-Fi, and I think everybody else was connected to the Wi-Fi there too. So it's just kind of maybe a urging of the people to, it's time to be honest and let law enforcement know exactly what happened.
In other words, if they are providing testimony or they're speaking to investigators and say, I don't know Celeste, I don't remember the last time I saw her, I didn't see her in 2024, this could be evidence to kind of rebut that. By the way, real quick before we move on, where did you get the photos?
These came off the same card that was left behind at the house when they moved out. So it was a camera that David had.
And there's more that you have that you're just not sharing yet?
Sorry, you guys, I have to mute from my mixer and then unmute from my mixer and on StreamYard, and I hate this shit. Viking woman said, didn't they find opioid bottles? That with alcohol is lose-lose, especially her being so young. Yeah, they did, right? And in the house, there were, SF said at least 3 bottles of opioids, right? They said that there were some in the bathroom, there were some by the computer table, and then there were just some in the other room. But yeah, if they were taking, dear Lord, I don't know what they were taking, right? I mean, if it was hydrocodone, again, we've talked about this before. Hydrocodone is a medication, it's a combination medication that is mixed with hydrocodone, which is the actual active opioid in the medication, and Tylenol, right? This is if it's a legitimate opioid, right? Not something that was bought on the street, but a legitimate opioid. That medication is cut, right? It's a combination medication. It's got hydrocodone, and it's got a little bit of acetaminophen, which is Tylenol. And imagine if they were just popping these pills. You're not supposed to be taking acetaminophen Tylenol with any kind of alcohol, right? Because what it does is it causes direct liver damage. And so for her to be so young, right, to be drinking at 13, 14 years old, and who knows if she was also popping those hydrocodone tablets, and then to add on top of that the Tylenol that's directly affecting her liver. I mean, who knows? There could be a possibility that maybe she did, you know, OD. But we have to wait for the toxicology reports, and we just have to wait to see what happens.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's over 1,100 photos.
Can we expect more photos to be released by you in the next coming weeks?
We don't know where the case stands.
Right.
This is not it's really not a thing to say, look what we got, or to put it out there. It's a dog whistle of sorts to certain people, and we hope they do the right thing, because I have heard that there's certain people that are still not cooperating.
I have a lot of questions about that. So first of all, how significant is it to see a case name like that in the caption? What does that mean to you?
Well, it's something that I think we all obviously hope for, and we kind of assume, but it's so refreshing, because here we are at 5 months and nobody's been charged, and there's been no press conferences, and there's been no statements from, LAPD to the DA's office or her family. And
Barbara Bish said she was drinking when she was with Gus. And, if that whole Gus situation is true, and he was 20 years old when he was dating Celeste when she was about 10 or 11, and if she was drinking at that young of an age, I can't help wonder what the fuck was going on at home, where her parents just didn't give a fuck about what she was doing at such a young age, right? And 10 or 11 years old, I mean, how many of you guys in the chat have a child that is that young? And can you guys just picture or imagine them drinking? That is wild. And then let alone to go through the shit that she went through when she was with Gus. I mean, it really makes me wonder, like, what was going on at home that was so bad that her parents couldn't just raise her the right way?
And people are worried, that, including myself and my client, that is this case, is there a problem with it? But to see this today, when I got my hands on this, to actually see, that this, the people of the state of California versus David Burke. So we know now that there is something in motion. I don't know if it's probably not an official case. I don't think there's been an indictment, but it's got a name now. It's actually got substance. There's something there, and we know that they are, they're looking into them.
Here's what I'm confused about, okay?
Yeah.
Why would they want his family members to testify in any capacity when you have to imagine they would plead the fifth? They're not going to provide testimony against them. I mean, even if you look at the filings, if I'm reading them the correct way, they were trying to fight even having to appear. And this goes back to something that you had mentioned on our show at a previous time.
Redondo, congratulations on your 3.5 years of sobriety. Man, that must have been tough to overcome. But congrats on your sobriety.
His friend Neil Langston, who was arrested in Montana on an outstanding warrant for failure to appear as a witness. You said if they have to bring in this uncooperative witness at this time who's going to plead the fifth, I mean, does that show a weakness in their case? Why are they calling this guy? He may even be, speculate, maybe he's a target of this case. I mean, why would he even be called in as a witness at this point? I'm confused. Why would they want to bring in David's family?
So it's a little different for me on this one, where I was worried about Neo, because I really thought, well, he could be a target. He has somebody knows. I don't think his family necessarily might know much. I think this is some, just some gamesmanship. It's a pressure campaign, I think, a little bit on David. Now they're subpoenaing his family and getting them involved, and I think maybe they're hoping that maybe cracks a little bit under that, but they're putting up a fight, and my guess, I don't know this, but my guess would be that that's probably at the direction of his attorney. And, but the pressure's being applied. And I hope it's not because they need that. They're still don't have enough to make the case. I hope it's just kind of the end stage before indictment, but we'll see.
Thank you for watching.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, Basin Jordan, this whole thing just gets me so heated. Sometimes I don't even know what to say about it. Yeah, it's just really, really, really sad that everybody. I mean, you hear this every direction that you turn. You know, everybody in her life failed her, and if she had to go what she went through at the age of 10 or 11, you know, to be essayed at that young of an age. I mean, I could just imagine the trauma that she just lived the rest of her, you know, the rest of the 4 years that she was alive. But anyways, that's going to be it for tonight, you guys. Thank you guys again for hanging out. Let me make sure I give a shout out to everybody who supported the channel. Steph and Kelly, thank you so much for your 1999 super chat. Happy early birthday. In case you're not live tomorrow, we'll be back tomorrow. I think who else? M7666, happy birthday. You are my new obsession. Thank you so much. Thank you for all you do for us. Thank you so much. Julie Shepard became a new member. Welcome to the Inner Circle. Last Ronin, thank you so much for your $2 super chat. I did post it on Discord, yo. Barbara Bish, thank you so much for your 1999 super chat, buying you a birthday drink. Happy birthday. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Didi Fuentes, thank you for your 199 super sticker. That's going to be it, you guys. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I do appreciate it, you guys. Happy Valentine's Day, you guys. Make sure that you guys hug your loved ones and tell them that you love them. Just remember, every day we are one step closer to filling in the gaps. And that's going to be it. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys later. Peace.